18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey, I'm Christine.
Hi, I'm Jada.
What are you doing over there? I'm trying to fix my stupid ring light so I actually look alive.
You look lovely.
It's like at the last second I was like, wait, I got this major shadow. Anyway, hello everyone. Thank you for coming back to the show this week. We're happy to see everybody.
Yes,
Jada,
we are. Yes.
happy to see you.
I missed you last week. How was the show? I listened to a little bit of it.
Did you? It was good.
Yeah.
It was nice to have Janice back for a little bit.
Oh, love Janice. Love her.
I know. Thank God Janice was here though.
What happened?
Because my guest did not make it. That's the look I gave too. So I was thinking she must have fallen asleep or something because what she's in England and it would have been midnight for her. And I was like, it is what it is. Whatever. Thank goodness Janice was here. I literally called her at the last minute and said, please, please, please. I'm so nervous about, how this is going to work. And it turns out our guest thought it was the next day.
Oh no.
I guess. So anyway, we're going to have her back.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, it is.
Gotta love good friends. Gotta love good friends.
Gotta tell you, next week's episode is going to be so much frickin' fun. I say frickin' because I gotta behave myself next week. My granddaughter is 8 years old and she is in the 3rd grade.
Okay.
And 5 years ago, she was in pre-K and met her little boyfriend. And
wait, I'm sorry. You said she's how old?
8.
Oh, okay.
So in pre-K, she met this little boy and they have had this incredible little relationship for 5 years.
I think that's really cute.
So they are so excited. They are coming on the show next week to talk about young love. Yeah. They're so excited. My daughter Presley will talk nothing else but. And every time my daughter calls me, Presley is yelling from behind, all right, we're ready for next week. What else do we need? It's so funny.
So, then I got to be on my best behavior. I'm usually always on my best behavior.
You know what? They hear me swear and I said something to the extent of, I guess I better watch my mouth. And Presley goes, nah, we swear all the time.
You're like, all right,
well,
great.
That is my granddaughter. So...
that'll be cute. That'll be a fun show.
That's going to be really cute. So I think they are generation alpha. And I think we're going to call it Alpha Love or
that's cute. I like that. Alpha Love.
So we will enjoy next week. So I got it. I had a crazy story that I wound up telling last week, and it was funny. But I found this really cool thing. It's hilarious. I have to read it. So it's called Handy Online Dating Terminology Guide. Okay, so you know how there's always some new terminology popping up, and everybody's like, "Ooh, what is that? What is that?" Well, I have it. I have it. So I'm gonna read this here. All right.
Oh, God. Okay.
Handy online dating terminology guide. Number 1 is into self-care equates to I watch a lot of porn.
What?
Number 2, my kids are my world equals 90% of my paycheck goes to child support.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Number 3, sex isn't important to me
Lies.
equals I have ED. What is ED?
Erectile dysfunction.
Oh, well, I don't have that. So I
No.
had no idea what the actual F that was standing for. Okay, thank you for that, Jada.
You're welcome.
Number 4, not sure what I'm doing on here means I cannot see my own flaws and therefore I'm not willing to grow.
Okay.
Number 5, looking for a serious relationship means I just want to sleep with you. I just want to sleep with you.
Yeah.
Boy, do we know that one.
Definitely. Mhm.
That's a man. This must be a man's.
I was going to say this must be
the
a
man's point of view
yeah.
because this is definitely not a woman. So this is
No.
the man's handy online dating terminology guide. All right,
Okay.
here we go.
Okay.
Number 6, there's only 11. Number 6, looking for something casual right now means I just want to sleep with you.
Mhm.
There's 2 definitions for that.
All right.
No, actually 2 terminologies, 1 definition.
One definition. Yeah.
Number 7, casual drinker equals I'm an alcoholic. Number 8, I work a lot means I'm married.
Ooh.
Number 9, new to town equals I'm married. Number 10 and number 11 are my favorite. Number 10, I'm 5'8", means I'm 5'4".
That's exactly right.
And number 11, drum roll, I'm 6 foot tall, means I'm 5'8".
But that's so true.
It's
Have you ever met
100%.
someone and you thought that they were like 6'1" or 6'2" and they're like 5'6", 5'6" or 5'7"?
Oh my God. So what
All the
time
time.
is it? I just want to make sure I don't
yeah.
overshare into Christina's time. But I have a very quick story. I had a guy I was talking to years ago when I first was online dating. And he told me that he was 5'10", and we had this date planned, and I was going out with my girlfriends clubbing after my date with him. He knew this. So I am 5'7", and I was wearing 3.5-inch platforms, which
Okay.
makes me 5'10" and a
5'10".
half.
Yeah.
And I was thinking I might be a little bit taller than him, but whatever. I get there. He came to here. So he was like staring at my boobs the whole time because that's where eyes were. And he kept asking me if he could go back to my place to sit in the hot tub. And I was like, no.
No.
And then he kept asking me if I would get a hotel with him to have sex. And I was like, no. And then we went to leave because I was like, I got to go. He walks me to my car. And I swear to God, this is exactly what happened. He leaped up to me to try to kiss me.
No, absolutely not, sir.
And I was like, yo, little man, no. You
Why'd
lied.
you say little man?
I go, no. Little man. So
No.
that was crazy. Yeah, they all lie about their fucking.
Yeah.
So whatever. I
Yeah.
even had, name that we shall not discuss anymore from last year. He told me he was 6'3", and I swear to God, he was barely 6 foot, maybe.
That's what you said.
He's an idiot. Anyway.
Complete idiot. Anyway.
All right. Well, a lot of what we're talking about right now kind of leads into our episode. We're episode 94 today.
Wow.
And we are talking about before committing. So we are talking to Christina Morelli, and she is talking about vital conversations to have with potential partners so that you can make informal decisions before committing to somebody. Christina is a relationship and personal coach. She works with individuals and people in partnerships to create healthy, rewarding, fulfilling relationships. Her practice is all about fostering self-awareness and providing the relationship education and skills we are not taught. Preach it, sister. I agree. I have always said that. The mission is to educate the world on how to increase relational and emotional intelligence. Well, try reading. Overall happiness and personal healing. Let's bring on Christina and have a little chit chat with her.
Hi,
Hello.
Christina.
Ladies.
Hi, girl. Beautiful.
Hey.
How are you?
I am so stoked to be here with the two of you. So thank you for having me.
We are thrilled. We have Christina booked for three episodes.
Oh, wow.
We've already got her booked, I think, through like October or November or something like that. I was preempting. I was like, girl, I'm booking you now. I like you and you're going to be a regular. I can tell. So, hi, Christina.
Hi.
How did you start learning about or getting to the point where you became a relationship and a partnership coach?
Yeah, it's been a lifelong passion and personal interest, honestly. I would say it started really, really young with the difficulties I had with relationships with my mother and just trying to understand how to try and fix relationships. A lot of what I do, teach, and educate can be applied to all interpersonal relationships, platonic and romantic. I know oftentimes people hear relationship coach and they think romantic, but it's not only romantic.
Oh,
I do love working in romance, of course, because I love love.
Yeah.
But it really started when I was younger and just trying to understand, like, how do relationships work? How do relationships work between parent and child? And we all know that our relationship with our parent deeply impacts our relationship with our romantic partners.
Absolutely. I'm 100% a believer at that.
Yeah. So I just started really digging in, and I remember one day I was complaining about my corporate job because it's soul sucking.
We know that.
Yes. Yep. And I felt like I was dying, and I was like, this can't be my life forever. And my ex, actually, this was one of the greatest gifts he ever gave me, asked me what energizes me. And I didn't know. And I was like, fuck, I need to know this. Like, this is really important if I want to live a life of purpose. So it took a few months, and I just kept asking myself this question and doing, check-ins. And the check-ins were, am I feeling energized after this activity? And I realized that the one thing that I could talk about all of the time, write about all of the time, read about, research about is anything relationship related, how to communicate, what are the dynamics, internal family systems, how to resolve conflict. And I just became so obsessed with it. And as I grew and understood more of this, I started hosting free workshops to educate people on all these different aspects of relationships that you really need to know about. So that way you can actually have healthy relationships. I refused to reside to the fact that arguments have to be a part of a relationship. A relationship needs to be a struggle, right? And I was like, there has to be a better way. There has to be an easier way. And then it just came to me that we're never taught how to do it. We're taught the skills that we need to be productive civilians in the workforce, but we are not taught how to have functioning, healthy relationships. Only thing we know about that is what is modeled for us. And
which sucks.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So I really wanted to just, how do we develop these skills so you can actually have healthy relationships? I don't know if you heard of the Harvard happiness study, where it's been like 80 plus years. Yeah. So brief overview is the Harvard happiness study is they followed the same people for, it's going on 80 years now, and different backgrounds, different cultures, different economic statuses as well. And over that time, they also started following their families and their children. And what they realized is the core component to our joy and happiness is our connections. And it just I'm like, well, if that is the main thing that brings people joy and happiness, then why aren't we talking about it? Why aren't we normalizing certain conversations?
Yeah.
Why isn't this a part of our basic public school curriculum? And so, yeah, that's what really drove my passion.
I love that because I can relate to that. And I also think there have been times in my life that I actually thought, how come there's not, when you get pregnant, when you're about to have a baby, that both the mom and the dad aren't expected to go through a specific type of parenting class?
Right.
Like every parent who is adopting, who is becoming a parent in any way, shape or form, that why isn't there a very specific parenting class that helps you know how to not just raise your child, know how to feed your child and change diapers and all that shit. That's easy. I mean, you could even stick a child with a single person who's never been around a kid, and you'll figure out how to feed it and change it and burp it and put it to sleep. But you don't know crap about how to emotionally help them grow and how to have the right kind of relationship. I wish that I had that. I'd have a different relationship with my kids now, but it's, better than it's ever been because I'm working on me,
Yeah. I think the hard thing about that specifically is we want to blame our parents, and it's what's passed on to them, right? They only know what they know, and and so it goes back to generational trauma or information, knowledge, and we do the best we can to keep improving as generations go. And I think that these younger generations are going to be way more emotionally intelligent than any other generation up to this point. I remember talking to my cousin who is teenager, mid-teens, and she was so openly talking about her mental health. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, we talk about it in school. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's great.
So it's really, really good. I was really excited to hear that these conversations are being normalized. The stigmas are going away, especially when it comes to conversations around relationships and sex. I think need to start happening more and more.
My daughter goes to a school that they have a student mental health place that if they're feeling anxiety or stress or anything, any kind of struggle, they can go. They are excused from class. They are excused from an absence or a tardy if they go there. And it's a safe place where they have counselors, and it's amazing. And it really helped us her first year or so in high school. Yeah, I don't think she goes anymore, but the first year or so, we frequented it a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are the things that we should be talking about before we start committing to somebody?
Oh, such a good question. Such a good question. Such a missed opportunity when it comes to dating. Before we jump into the conversations, I think another really important aspect to consider is the neuroscience behind engaging with people in romantic ways. And the reason why I bring that up is because the different stages and the hormones that are being released, the chemistry, the brain chemicals that are being dispersed through our body at different stages in relationships deeply impact our decision making, right? So we have the initial stage of lust where I see you, damn, you're sexy, I want to get that, right? I'm attracted to you. That's the lust. Your testosterone is spiked. So now you are feeling a level of motivation to approach somebody, right? So that's the whole point of these hormones, is to create this attachment bond between people, and to do it in an escalated way because it's our biological nature to make that connection and attachment to then procreate. After the lust, now you have the attraction aspect, right? So this is the initial stages of the relationship that are being mostly run from adrenaline and dopamine, right? Oftentimes when we're in that stage, we don't see people's flaws. We are viewing the relationship with rose-colored glasses on. It is easy to overlook the red flags and not know if we're even compatible because that chemistry is so strong. We're just like, yes, yes, yes to so many things. Right. So then and that usually happens like in the first 3 to 6 months, we're in that like attraction stage where our adrenaline's flowing. You get the butterflies, you're feeling excited, you're feeling really motivated and high almost. It really is a high that you're experiencing. Right. And during that stage is when most people make a decision to commit to somebody. And the problem with that is you're not having the right conversations. You're doing it under the influence of dopamine and adrenaline, which inevitably wears off. And then you start transitioning to oxytocin, which is the cuddle stage, right? So that's why things die down, or you don't have that flame anymore, or things escalate really quickly up front. And you're like, it's so hot, it's so passionate. And then once you start to get to know each other, you get into a routine, you start to notice those red flags that you were ignoring at first, right? And that is actually the stage that I believe people should be committing in, is when you are starting to actually see the person for who they really are, right? And not just basing it off of that high feeling chemistry that you're experiencing at the beginning of the initial stages of engagement. And during that time, we lack those conversations. Most of the commitment conversations are you getting off of a dating app, right? Are we going to be exclusive? Are you sleeping with anybody else? Want to be boyfriend, girlfriend, right? So it's a difference between deciding and sliding into a relationship, right? Oftentimes people don't even have those single question conversations because they're like, oh, we're spending so much time together, we're sleeping together, we're doing boyfriend, girlfriend things. So we're obviously in a relationship, which tends to sometimes end up in a situationship. And instead of being very intentional about having conversations before actually committing. Yeah.
Okay.
I think what's something. Oh, go ahead, Christine.
No. Go ahead, Jada. I don't have anything. I was making shit up off the top of my head.
I was just going to say, I think it's important to know that sometimes someone that we could see ourselves being with at the moment may not be the right fit for the person that we are hoping to become. So I always ask people, is this somebody that you could see your future self being with before you decide to get exclusive with somebody? Because if you're in a stage of growth and development and visualizing and manifesting, and this person is complacent and stagnant, is this going to be the person that's still going to feed your soul and give you the fuel that you need to be successful with in the future?
That's great. I love that question.
That is great.
Yeah. I love that. I love that introspection that happens, right? Because that creates the self-awareness around it, especially at the beginning when it's so easy to overlook those aspects, right? And to what you were saying that I really appreciate is that you actually are taking the time to know who you are. And what you want in partnership. A lot of people are very concerned and focused on who do I want or what do I want in a partner? When really for me, I believe the more valuable question is who do I want to be in partnership? And what do I want my partnership to look like? Because when you set those standards and expectations for yourself and have the ability to hold yourself accountable to those, that future partner has no choice but to rise to the occasion, to be called forward, to be as equally as service to this relationship as you are.
I would not have understood what you were just saying a couple of years ago. Before my journey of finding who I was, where was I going, what did I want from me, all those things. If before that, I would not have understood. I would have disagreed with you. I would have said, no, it's all about blah, blah, blah. But what you're saying is 100% true. if you're focusing on your journey and you're finding who you are, what you want from yourself, and then that your person is doing their journey as well, and then you're coming together, and then your journey together is just nothing but growth.
Yeah.
That's magic. That's where the
that is
magic
the magic.
happens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
If your person is faking it and acting like, oh yeah, I'm doing work on myself, and they're really not, that'll become apparent. And you know,
very quickly.
And I really think that because you are working on yourself, you are on that self discovery journey, it's much easier to see the flags that we want to talk about. You know what I mean? It's much easier to start seeing those things and start going, you know, that red flag is not for me. I think it is a much easier place to be, to understand that and to see that. And then you're saving yourself that connection with somebody that you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna start overlooking those kind of things. And
and then you get to determine the compatibility aspects when you have certain conversations, and know if somebody's compatible because you've done that own introspection on yourself to even know, like, what do I want out of my life in partnership, right? And what Jada, you were saying earlier about, like, who is this person in 6 months? So many times when people enter into relationship too soon, it's a very common trend. 6 months, a year in, you're like, I don't even know if this is the right relationship for me. I don't know if this is the right person for me. And you can avoid all of that by doing what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So 12 years ago, when I met my boyfriend and we started seeing each other, I think it was 6 months to a year that I was thinking, oh my God, this guy has everything I want. He's all these things that I've been really looking for, but we weren't quite it wasn't right. For some reason, it just wasn't working. We were together for 2 years, and the last year of that just wasn't. I can't speak for him. I don't know what he was thinking or feeling or whatever. And all I know was that it just didn't feel right for me. And when I left that, for the last 9-10 years that we've been apart, and anybody who asks me, what am I looking for? I would say all these things that he was that I really wanted. And there were a few women, which shame on them, shame the fuck on them. They would say things like, well, what do you have to offer? Or they would say, why are you setting your expectations so high? You're never going to find that. And I'd say, no, first of all, it's what I want. It's what I need. Second of all, I did find it in somebody already. And he can't be the only fucking man out there who does these things.
Right.
Fast forward 10 years later, here we are, and we're better than ever. And, we've done a lot of changing and growing, and situations are different, and it's completely different relationship. And I love that because I can see him for who he is and what we are together now that I understand myself a whole lot more. And things that bothered me back then don't bother me like they do now. And he's not in the same headspace either.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
Christina, do you find in your work with different people that there's an age, like it's different dependent on age? So people in their 20s to 32, 33 may rush to like get exclusive, get married, get engaged, versus somebody who's been married, divorced. It's a different conversation, I think, and different questions for those people that are older versus those that are younger. Do you find that a lot, just based on the experience that you have?
Yeah, honestly, it's all over the board, but there are certain questions that are more prevalent as you get older. and have learned experiences through experiential learning, of course. And there is the idea that the younger generations are looking for instant gratification and want to, or a little bit more impulsive in their decision making, because they don't have the experience to be like, oh, I should consider that next time before I jump into a relationship. But I do still know plenty of people in their 40s and 50s who are jumping into relationships way sooner than they should. Yeah. But the conversations are still different. You know, the conversation isn't necessarily want to be exclusive. It's, you know, your kids are out of the house, mine are out of the house. Great. Like, let's go, you know, but it's still not enough for people to make informed decisions before committing.
I think a lot of people who are out of a relationship and they're older, whether it be divorce or
breakups, just like a bad
whatever,
breakup.
and any that they tend to maybe be a little addicted to love or to having somebody there or needing to have companionship. They're not able to sustain on their own, which I totally get. You know, I kind of jumped into the relationship with Christian, 12 years ago, 11 years ago, because I was in a weird financial bind. And it was just, I needed to be somewhere. And he was like, come live with me. And I was like, perfect. And I like you. I love you. Woo, you're cute. You're everything. And so I jumped into that too soon. And I didn't really know who I was. So that makes a big difference. So let's talk about what those conversations are. What are these questions? What are these things that we need to give people to arm themselves?
Yeah. The 5 overarching conversations are: what are my values? What is my lifestyle? What are my future goals, dreams, desires, wants, needs? Do I have a life of my own that I'm willing to sustain while in partnership? So many of us lose friendships and hobbies and interests, and then we lose ourselves, and it gets us into codependency and enmeshment and blah, 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 right? So what are my own personal interests, hobbies that I'm willing to commit to myself to keeping as a part of my life, so we can have an interdependent relationship where I still have a sense of self. And this is specific for monogamous relationships that I'm referring to, but add the numbers and make it yours. But I say that couples are actually a threesome, and that goes with you being partner. Your partner is entity number 2, and then the union is its own individual entity that deserves the same level of respect, care, consideration, effort, as well as you and your partner, and being able to give each of them space while still finding ways to intertwine in a healthy way, right? So it's almost like interdependence is like a dance. You come together, you separate and rest. You come together, you create space where you get to re-energize and do what fulfills you, so you can then bring energy back to the relationship. When people are spending all of the time in the relationship, all of the time with their partner, you have nothing to bring to the relationship anymore at a certain point. So you have to have a sense of autonomy in your partnership, right? And still be able to find ways to intertwine and interconnect the two of them while giving your partner space to do the same thing.
Oh yeah, preach it, sister. That is 100%. Rebel had a quick question, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with my eyesight today, but today I need glasses. Rebel asked, why do we want it once we let it go? Are you talking about a person or a relationship, Rebel? And
we're talking about things in a relationship, like you wanted all these things you were talking about wanting that you had after you let it go.
And then why does it take so long for us to figure out our wants out? Okay.
I have an answer to that.
Okay, I love it.
I have a very passionate answer to that.
I love it. Yes.
Because we were never encouraged to have our wants as children. Anytime we had wants, if it was inconvenient for the parent or didn't abide to the schedule or didn't, if it wasn't what we were having for dinner, but I wanted this instead because my stomach was upset and maybe I internally knew that this would actually cause, there is so many times we are shut down when we have wants as children. And and I'm not saying that you can't say no, right? It's very important to say no to a lot of requests for children, especially when they're like, I want ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Those are really important. But what is being missed in a lot of that adult-child connection is the lack of acknowledgement, right? Like, I value your want. I hear your desire. What I'm hearing you say is that you need this. And then being able to explain to them why you can't provide that to them at this moment in time. That is how you actually still cultivate that. I feel safe enough to express what I want, and what I want is valued, and what I want is heard, and what I want is seen as very young. And then as we grow as adults, we don't know what we want because we were shut down so many times and told what you want is selfish. Or you can't have that without even acknowledgement of what I said. We know very much what we don't want.
Right.
I can tell you that. We know very clearly what we don't want, but we do not know what we want.
And we're also not taught. And maybe it's because it just wasn't a very aware-ish kind of culture when it comes to this. I know from experience now, especially with manifesting in the law of attraction, that what we don't want when we're verbalizing that, we're actually bringing it to ourselves. So I find that in past relationships, whatever they were, romantic or family or whatever, when I'm expressing what I don't want, that's all the shit I was getting.
Yeah. Yeah. Just perpetuates that cycle.
Yeah.
And
to me, that's such a negative when you're like, what don't you want? Or instead of what do you want?
Right. And you'd be probably amazed. So many people are like, I don't know what I want. So then I reverse it. And it's like, okay, well, what don't you want? Well, I don't want a partner who's nagging me all the time. Okay. So what is the opposite of that? Because finding the opposite of what you don't want is finding what you do want, right? So I want a partner who trusts that I'm going to do what I'm saying I'm going to do versus I don't want a partner who's nagging me. So it's a really easy mind shift.
Oh, I like
around figuring out what you want. So it's easy to do, but it's very important that you feel safe enough to actually express what you want. And it is possible to make yourself feel safe enough without the other person being able to provide a safe space for you, which I think personally requires more work than having somebody able to provide a safe space for you. But I think it's also really hard for us to express what we want when someone's like, that's stupid, or that's needy, or your expectations are too high, which I want to say, Christine, I'm so glad that you said, that's bullshit when it comes to somebody saying your expectations are too high. Because really what they're saying is, I'm not able or willing to meet your expectations. It's not I'm not the problem. You're the problem because you're not able and willing to meet my expectations.
Oh, I love
but
that.
I do hear sometimes being a matchmaker, when I ask people specifically of things that they want, a lot of it is superficial, right? A lot of it is, we just talked about it. Height is the biggest thing.
Height, job, car, house, money. Those are the things that people tend to put value on before their own personal, emotional, mental needs and desires.
Until they feel empty and dead inside and they're like, I need more.
Oh gosh.
When you know there are a lot of fucking people walking around
dead
inside because there are real goddamn assholes out there. And when you're getting that, I just look at them now and go, oh, you poor thing, you're so dead inside. I think that's gonna be my answer to the next asshole that dick to me. I'm just gonna go, oh, I'm so sorry that you feel so dead and empty inside and you gotta project it onto me. I'm sorry. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I believe it, actually.
it's true.
I'll tell you how it works.
Oh, let me know.
Yeah. I think when it comes to understanding, especially shifting from superficial to more meaningful,
Yeah.
deep desires,
Yeah.
is how do I want to feel?
Mm,
Mhm.
And like feeling powerful. Is it necessarily a feeling?
Mm.
And feeling rich, or feeling, if that's all really ego based, and like the ego is there for a reason. It's a very important aspect of our physical existence. But when it comes to having anything of substance, you have to know what you want to experience feeling wise. And so many people are so disconnected from their emotions and feelings. And unfortunately, it's a lot more rampant amongst men, because
Yeah.
the only emotion that they were ever permitted to feel, for the most part, or encouraged to feel, is anger. And they don't know what it means to feel like intimacy, vulnerability, like the things
They're
that
afraid to.
it's terrifying, because if they do feel those things, it feels like a life or death situation.
Yeah.
Also, they're looked at as weak by a lot of people. And I think that's more strength. It's stronger than
It is.
than
Than
weakness.
weakness.
It's not weak. It's
The
bravery.
Mm-hmm.
most courageous thing you can do is be vulnerable. It's the scariest shit to
It's
say
scary,
something
yeah.
that you're afraid to say, or you're
Yeah.
worried or feeling ashamed of, or worried somebody's going to react poorly, and still have the courage to say it anyways, because you made a promise to yourself to live authentically, to live truthfully, to be transparent,
I love
to
it.
live with integrity. That takes a lot of courage. It really does. Yeah.
So, I hate the way how fast time goes. I think we've got like maybe 6-7 minutes left. So let's talk about, how do you, I don't know how to phrase this. It's like, how do we get to a point, do you think, what do you think is the best suggestion for people to be able to, if they think they're going to want to get in a committed relationship with somebody, to stop and go, okay, here's my most valuable questions, or
Mhm.
and how do I get to a place that I feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
If you can't feel comfortable doing it, I personally think it may not be your right person.
Yeah.
That is very true. Or maybe you have some more discovery to do on yourself, because
That's true.
you just don't have the information quite yet to have those conversations.
Okay.
So the list of questions is, who do I want to be as a partner? What do I want my partnership to look like? What do I want in a partner? What do I want my lifestyle to look like? Do I want it to be rich and lavish? Do I want it to be simple and easy on farmland, right? What do I want my financial future to be? So the reason why I'm listing all these questions out is because the first step is answering these questions for yourself. By yourself.
Yeah.
Do not do these questions as you are trying to get in a committed relationship. This is something you need to do way before even considering being in a committed relationship.
Right, because you have to be very self-aware of what you're wanting out of these questions for yourself. But then when you ask them from somebody else, then do they align? Do they not? I dated this guy a couple of years ago, and the first thing he asked me is, where do I see myself in 5 years? And it's the first time any man has ever asked me that. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this works for me. And we have the same alignment. We wound up not having a relationship romantically. We are friends. But
you probably have a very strong connection.
Yeah.
Because you guys are so aligned. It doesn't mean you have to be romantic. You can still be platonic and have a really beautiful, deep connection with somebody.
Yeah.
So the questions are, what do I want my sex life to look like? How do I want to feel in my relationship? For me, it was really important that my intuition was really honored and cherished. Right. It was that a man had the ability to be like, I trust my woman's internal wisdom. that's coming to her. That was really
I
important for
love
me.
that.
Yeah. And
important.
yeah, exactly.
Girls, it's important.
It's important. Your intuition is accurate 99% of the time. So trust it. Do not let other people gaslight you into it not being true just because you don't have proof, tangible proof. Okay. Another aspect is, what do I want to accomplish in my life for myself? Right. Even outside of the partnership. Like, so for me, what was really important before I got into my partnership was that I could do some type of relationship work, whether it was family and marriage counseling or relationship coaching. I want to have a dog sanctuary one day. And like, these are really important aspects of my life that I want to make sure I can achieve and that my partner is going to be on board with when the time comes and is in support of it. So finance, sex, what do I want as a person? What are some other aspects? How do I resolve conflict? How do I handle conflict? Yeah.
Great. I love that.
Love languages. And another thing that I really appreciate is modern love languages. If anybody wants to know more about modern love languages, we should just do an episode on modern love languages.
That should be a whole other show.
Let's do that.
It is a whole other episode.
Modern love languages. Send me a thing on that.
I will send you a thing on that.
Before we get to the point where we have to wrap up, please make sure you put your info of how people can contact you right here in our little notes, and she's going to scroll it across the screen, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. So then once you answer these questions, let me just finish real quick. Once you answer these questions for yourself, when you meet somebody, right, it's not an interview process right away. You want to build that genuine connection that is friends first, right? I mean, with obviously maybe some romantic or sexual attraction, because that's what you need in order to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
But build a really genuine, authentic connection with no ulterior motives. And then when the time comes to commit, or at least I'll tell you my experience with my partner. When my partner said, when we were talking about making things serious, I was like, this is going to be a long conversation. Okay. Like, we're going to have a very detailed, long conversation of what we want in partnership, what it's going to look like, what we both want in our lives. And I literally sent him bullet points. I was like, these are all the things that I plan on talking about on our Wednesday meeting, essentially. So you can be prepared, right? And I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but you really have to invite the person to the conversation with you and give them time to prepare. Like, what are the things you want to talk about? And let them know those are the things you want to talk about, so they can also be prepared and you both can make informed decisions on if this is going to be an aligned relationship.
Well, it's a partnership, just like a business partnership, a romantic partnership, a friendship partnership. Those kind of things you have to be on the same page.
Yes.
And if you're not, it just isn't going to work.
I think it's also important to figure out, and I know we don't have a lot of time left, but to figure out the important things that you're aligned on, because there may be some that you're not aligned on that are okay, but there may also be some that are absolute non-negotiables.
Right.
So I think that's something to figure out as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to have room for flexibility, right? Yeah. Like, these are I'm not willing to budge. And these are I'm definitely willing to budget. Like, this is important, but not that important. Yep. That I wouldn't feel like I was losing a sense of self if I didn't fulfill this specific thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to reach Christina, you can go to Instagram to Christina with a CH. And her last name is, how do you say it? Morelli.
Christina Morelli Coaching.
And it's Morelli. So Christina Morelli Coaching. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, and you can find her website, which is ChristinaMorellaCoaching.com.
Yep.
I really appreciate you being
this
here
was good.
today.
Both of you.
I love it.
This was so fun. I love you guys. You guys are fire. I love it.
We are little nuts. Actually, Jada's sane and I'm insane in the membrane.
I am the sane one.
Yin yang. We need the balance.
Okay.
We need the balance.
We need someone to laugh at me. That's
There
the
you
whole
go.
point here. So just wanted to say thank you, Christina. We
Thank
are
you.
actually going to
Thank
see
you.
you again very soon. We have you on the
Yes.
schedule. Jada, I love you. I hope that
love you
you
too.
have an incredible week. And all of you who come to listen, every time you come back, it just makes my heart sing. So, and it makes me say, fuck yeah. So until next week, same time, same place, keep it real.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.